Singapore is streamlining its COVID-19 restrictions amid the Omicron wave. Safe management measures are being simplified to make it easier for people to follow. The multi-ministry task force says this allows for more flexibility to tighten or loosen restrictions accordingly as the country moves towards living with COVID-19. The rules are down to just 5 parameters now: group sizes, mask wearing, workplace requirements, safe distancing and capacity limits. Most of it still remains the same. These include compulsory mask wearing, work from home requirements and gatherings of up to 5. However, unique household visitors will be adjusted from 5 per day to 5 at any one time. Event size limits will also be lifted from March, including for religious services and weddings. But capacity limits will remain for larger events beyond 1,000 people. One change is that safe distancing will not be required as long as masks are worn. That means no more crossing out seats. Simplifying the rule will free up restrictions in many places, including schools and parks.
It will bring us to a position where we are more nimble and ready, that we can ease those SMMs more readily when the Omicron wave subsides, and we can tighten should the situation worsen, such as when there's emergence of another variant of concern.
Our testing protocols will also change in light of the nature of the Omicron variant. With a shorter interval where ARTs can pick up an infection, rostered routine testing will no longer be necessary for workers in most sectors, except those catering to vulnerable groups. These include healthcare, elder care and preschools. More age groups with mild symptoms will also be managed by their GPs. The task force points out how Omicron has proved to be less severe in Singapore.
The vast majority had mild symptoms or were asymptomatic and were able to safely recover on their own. This data, showing more people having less severe infections, allows us now to simplify our health protocols and reduce the need for admission into the hospital or the community treatment facilities for treatment and care.
As for close contacts of COVID-19 patients, the self-monitoring period is reduced from 7 to 5 days. Instead of being a legal obligation, it is now an advisory, signalling a shift towards individual responsibility.
Singapore is expanding its vaccinated travel lanes, or VTLs, and streamlining health protocols for visitors as it looks to secure its hub status. But the government says that the bigger vision is to provide quarantine-free travel to anyone who's fully vaccinated. Chua Tian Tian with this report.
It will soon be easier for travellers to enter Singapore due to simpler VTL measures. Among them, replacing PCR tests on arrival with supervised rapid tests that they can take within 24 hours of when they touch down. Those who need to isolate will have the period cut to 7 days. Authorities will also lift the 50% cap on the daily number of VTL air travellers and progressively increase this from 5,000 to 15,000 by the first week of March. As for VTL countries, Singapore will launch previously announced destinations: Qatar, Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates. It will also add Israel, Hong Kong and the Philippines and more Thai cities to the scheme. Health Minister Ong Ye Kung says the past consideration was to prevent imported infections, but these now only make up about 1% of our daily case counts and no longer impact Singapore's epidemic situation. The more pressing concern now is whether those who come in fall severely ill and burden the healthcare system.
At some point, we have to pivot to a new posture where it's not VTL based, but vaccinated traveller based. As to what defines a vaccinated traveller, this is something we are studying. And when we are ready to pivot, we will explain the definition.
On land, Singapore will restore the quota for its land VTL with Malaysia after it was halved due to Omicron. And at sea, there will be VTLs with Batam and Bintan. Up to 350 travellers weekly will be allowed from each Indonesian island.
Let me reiterate the context of all these moves and set them in context. As we learn to live with COVID-19 and Omicron, it is essential that we progressively open our air and sea borders. They will enable us to carefully restore our connectivity, especially our regional neighbours. Our ultimate goal is quarantine-free travel for all vaccinated travellers.
The various new arrangements kick in progressively from next Monday.
In line with the announcement, Singapore Airlines will expand its VTL network to 47 cities. Destinations, which include Hong Kong, New York and Phuket, will be added progressively from next Friday. There will also be more frequent flights to places like Phnom Penh and Colombo. The national carrier says these moves will help unlock pent-up demand for international air travel and provide more options for customers. One travel agency has already begun planning tours to the new VTL countries, which include traditionally popular destinations.
Qatar and UAE is one of the most traveled country for our package tour pre-COVID. So what will happen is we will definitely see a better direction where this country can open. It also opens up a gateway to broad country. Our planners are already planning for all these products to pouring out to the market.
Meanwhile, ferry operators expect the sea VTL between Singapore and the Indonesian islands of Bintan and Batam to provide a much-needed boost to their industry. Once this, it has been waiting eagerly for details to be confirmed and already has its fleet of 4 on standby.
We've been struggling for the last 2 years. Our industry, the ferry operators, business has been really bad. So now that we can start operating again, I think all of us are relieved and happy that the news has come out. 350 a week is a rather small number, but I think we understand because we're just starting. But hopefully these numbers can be increased soon. Once the confidence is gained by everyone that traveling to Bintang is safe and people can go and enjoy the holidays.
Well, operators of sporting facilities are excited and hopeful after hearing about the changes to the restrictions for smaller venues. A football pitch operator says it's the shot in the arm that was needed. Others say that they've been given a lifeline after being badly hit since the circuit breaker almost 2 years ago. From next Friday, sports activities may proceed with up to 30 people at approved facilities. No additional testing is needed if players are vaccinated. More people may also enter sporting venues. The multi-ministry task force says smaller events can proceed with less than 1,000 people without any capacity limit. Venue operators say that this will go a long way to bringing business back.
We're thrilled to bits, right? The thing is, for team sports, group size limitation is an absolute deal breaker. And really, with the new rules, all forms of football can happen. 5 aside, 7 aside, 8 aside, or the full 11 aside game. And cricket as well. Really, for us, this is us getting back to a proper business.
We have been facing capacity limits and it has severely impacted our business because soccer, as one of the sports, has to be played in large groups. So our business was close to 0 sales. So we used to hold tournaments and events here. Parents will bring their kids over and it's a bit of like a carnival kind of atmosphere. So by having these limits removed, we also hope that it brings back the kind of energy, the kind of vibe it used to be around during pre-COVID times.